Hi, I'm Dr. Rick DeShazo. Welcome to this fourth episode of Mississippi's Big Problem. We've been covering obesity from the beginning. Every citizen in Mississippi is affected in serious financial and physical ways by this problem. Along the way, we hope we've inspired you. We've shown you people working to make a difference on their own and in groups, in the North, in the South, and everywhere in between. We've also shown you people struggling with obesity themselves, and we're trying to show why they are struggling and how sometimes our state and its history may be working against its own people. We've also shown you that there is a sort of dark underbelly. While many are suffering from the financial and physical side effects of obesity, there are plenty of people profiting from it as well. Is that good or bad? And how, as the center of the Bible Belt, do we reconcile that? Tonight we come to you from a place called Dirt Farms, a place we found inspiring, a place whose name is representative of changing our future. Tonight we'll use this inspiration to introduce you to a brand new set of angles and people, and we'll bring back a few you'll recognize. Overall, we want to challenge you to take charge of your health. That means personally and in your community. Tonight we'll introduce you to people doing so in both ways. We'll start with a young boy who has lived almost his entire life as an overweight child, and we'll find out how that has affected him. Then we'll look at how one Mississippi program got its start in tobacco, but is now trying to make a difference in obesity. Plus, it's fall in Mississippi, and that means time for the State Fair, where you can find just about anything you can put on a stick, fried to within an inch of its existence. But is that Mississippi food? Also tonight, I'll be live chatting during the entire program. Grab your laptop and let me know what you think of the show. Ask me questions about whatever you're seeing, or just ask any questions at all. Just head over to www.mpbonline.org. But first, off to Lumberton, Mississippi, where we go to meet a special kid named Zachary. You've heard it said 1,000 times, kids are resilient, and it's a truth that never fails to amaze. In the case of Zachary Kanui, it is once again true. He's just your average 14-year-old Mississippi boy who likes video games, riding four-wheelers, fighting with his sister, and playing first base on his baseball team. Nothing too out of the ordinary here, but Zachary is a little different. When just a toddler, this adorable baby boy got sick.
He got real sick when he was about 2.5 with mono and the flu, and they ran tests. And that's how they determined he had nephrotic syndrome.
At just 2.5 years old, Zachary was diagnosed with this rare form of kidney disease. One of the standard treatments would lead to a lifetime of weight problems.
At that point, the doctor in Jackson put him on steroids, which blew him up like a blowfish. Before then, he was a little bitty kid. So that's mainly where his weight problem started, was the steroids.
It's the only life that Zachary has ever known, the only life he's ever lived.
I just got bigger and bigger and bigger. My heaviest that I've ever weighed was 200, almost 30 pounds.
And how old were you when you weighed 230 pounds?
11 to 12 years old.
And how tall were you?
Not that tall, about 4'11".
Hard stuff to handle for a sweet little boy who really had no idea what was going on with his own body, one that grew too big since the age of 3. Harder still once other children began to tease him.
Oh, they treated me horribly.
What'd they do?
They picked on me, called me fat, just took advantage of me.
And if it was tough for Zachary, it was hell for his parents, Angela and Travis. Horrible to watch, painful to live with.
Cruel, I would say. it's hard to see your kid hurt. And last year was a really, really tough year. He was in 7th grade, middle school, and the older you get, the meaner kids are. And there was 1 or 2 kids that would just egg him on and pick at him all year. And he got to where he was constantly finding an excuse not to go to school. And he missed almost, 30 days of school last year?
A lot of times he proved us wrong in the past because we felt like he was trying to just kind of manipulate us to get home, but we kind of put 2 and 2 together. He's got a good group of friends that stand behind him, and just certain people, you know. Kids need to realize that sometimes other people can't help it, you know. I'm sorry.
Over the years, you know, he's made comments before, and some other kids have said so-and-so said something about Zachary. And we just kind of put 2 and 2 together. And as last year, towards the end of the year, when he kept missing so much school, we would take him to the doctor. He would be sick with this or that, but then there's sometimes they couldn't find anything wrong with him. So it got to the point where we finally figured out, I asked him, I said, who's bullying you at school?
But Zachary is not alone. Each year, thousands of overweight children find themselves in the same situation, and the debate rages across the country as to how to handle their cases. Should obese kids be handled the same as their peers? Should they be handled with kid gloves? Or is tough love the answer? We spoke with psychologist Dr. Martha Kane about overweight kids. She specializes in working with children with weight problems on both sides of the spectrum. She says that kids usually know what's going on long before their parents get involved.
The innocence of childhood is often lost when someone is called fatty. Children see that they're not picked for the ball team, they're not asked to spend the night. They very often begin to withdraw, don't feel good about themselves, and I think that that has all sorts of implications for how they experience life.
Dr. Kane says her overweight patients vary in attitude. Some come in oblivious to their situation. They're only there because mom and dad worry about their future. Others come in already depressed because of taunting at school, church, and elsewhere.
Other children that I see who are obese and come in are crushed. They don't like to go to school. They see being around their peers as a highly aversive experience. They don't feel they can ever be good enough. And I think that there's a very high rate of depression in children that goes along with that.
So where does this all begin? Clearly kids like Zachary have been dealt a special hand. But for most of the overweight kids in our country, where does it start for them? Are they destined to be overweight? Or can something be done to stop the tide of obesity?
I'm a pediatric endocrinologist, and I see children with diabetes, growth problems, puberty problems, those with weight problems, low birth weight, and excessive weight.
This is Dr. Nanzing Dixit, professor of pediatrics from the University of Mississippi Medical Center, all the way from Mumbai, India, by way of Australia, New York City, and Arizona. She specializes in finding out how to make overweight kids healthy. According to Dr. Dixit, over 40% of children in Mississippi are already overweight or obese. She says the key is early intervention.
15% of the obese babies will end up as obese adults, whereas 80% of obese teenagers will end up as obese adults. What it means is that you can still change how the child eats at a younger age. You can change their habits. You can influence them to eat healthier and have a healthier lifestyle. But as those habits get formed, it becomes difficult in teenage years to change those habits.
Dr. Dixit spends her days meeting with patients and their families to discuss their growing bodies, never really sure what to expect from them. She says the very first question she asks a new patient is the most important one.
When I see a child in the family with obesity, the first thing is, the question I ask them is, why are they here? Because that's an important question. If they say they're concerned about the child's weight, we know we have made some headway. Because the first thing is the acceptance.
But what if they are in denial? What if a patient or a parent lives in their own world, refusing to accept the fact that they or their loved one is at risk for prolonged illness or worse? Should we flat out tell someone that they are fat?
Whether it's a kid or an adult, who likes to be told you're fat? This culture has such a prejudice against overweight folks that I don't think that's ever a healthy way to address an issue. I can't imagine looking in a mirror and seeing someone seeing him or herself with a body mass index of 35, not at least wondering if they're a little overweight. I don't see any value in telling someone you're fat.
No, I mean, we don't want to tell the child you're fat